Hello, my name is John Westfield, and I'm a Vice President within HCL's Strategic Business Unit. I'm based here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we would like to welcome everybody to HCL's Straight Talk Soundboard. We're excited. This is our 9th episode, and the topic that we'll be talking about today is leaders in transition. And basically, our show is where technology leaders and executives exchange ideas and insights. We're very excited to have 4 very distinguished guests with us today. I'd like to start by introducing Meet Patel, who is the Senior Director of Global Advanced Technologies with Kellogg Company. And prior to this, he joined Kellogg around 6 months ago. And prior to that, he was with Coca-Cola as a business leader heading analytics and data science. Welcome, Meet. Next, I'd like to introduce Garima Kadwala, who is Director and Head of ITES for Microsoft in Mumbai. And she's a senior industry leader who joined Microsoft 10 months ago from SAP. And we're excited to have you on board today as well, Garima. Welcome aboard. And next, I'd like to introduce Saket Singh, who is IT Infrastructure Strategy and Execution at Healthcare Service Corporation. He's been around the industry for over 20 years. And prior to joining HSSC 6 months back, he actually held various leadership roles across IBM, ABB, and Motorcorp. And finally, I'd like to introduce Siki Junta, who is an Executive Vice President here within HCL. And she joined us here at HCL from Accenture 18 months back, and she heads up our cloud strategy for the company. So I wanted to welcome everybody today. We're excited to have this conversation. Let's certainly keep it conversational. I know that it's December, so pretty chilly out there. So we'll warm it up with a couple of questions and go around the room and have everybody respond. So first of all, things have really gotten crazy over the last couple of years. I mean, it started a couple years ago when COVID hit. The last 18 to 24 months has certainly been a challenge for everybody from a company perspective, from a personal perspective, but there's something that you all bring that's extremely special to the table, and that is during this sort of times of craziness, you also have changed careers, which is a really, really big deal, right? So we'd like you all to be able to share some of your insights and learnings from that with us today. So I'll start off with the first question, and that is, over the course of your career in business and in technology services, how has your role really changed as industry demands have changed, as things outside of the industry have changed, and new challenges have come into view and moved front and center? It's not a normal course of career transition or transformation for everybody. I wanted to get your perspective on how things have changed. And let's go ahead and start with you, Meet. What are your thoughts on this?
Awesome. Great question, John. So I would start out with, over the last 15 years, I've been at the intersection of business and analytics across different industries, including EdTech, telecommunication, automotive, and CPG. And from my reference point, AI and ML has evolved significantly due to an increase in computing power to analyze and model large amounts of data, along with contribution to the open source community. And development in technologies from relational and on-premises to serverless environment, as we know now, have prepared companies to make data-driven decisions. So it feels like we're getting just started on the digital revolution, but you always have to be ready to adapt to new technologies. Fun fact, right? So the entire journey of moving from relational database to native Hadoop to cloud environment, it all happened in 7 years. And so now, business stakeholders are looking for better insights because we can effectively and efficiently run complex ML models in a scalable way. So the roles are becoming more specialized. Before, you probably had a statistician who used to do most of the work. Now you have a data scientist, ML engineers, data translators, and among others, right? So, to your question, due to an innovation in technology, and I would say AI and ML models, career tracks are getting more and more specialized, and hence, as we are going through this revolution, I feel like the more and more challenges are going to be solved by creating these specialized career tracks, and hence, that's how we're going to really navigate through the next momentum as we're going to face. Thank you.
No, that's great insight. That's great insight, and I fully agree with you. So, let's go across the world. Let's move from Atlanta over to Mumbai. Garima, so what are some of your thoughts on this one? This is an interesting topic, right?
Certainly, John, and thanks first of all for having me here. Very excited to have the discussion with all the distinguished leaders out there. I think certainly the role has changed over last few years, especially during the pandemic. It has completely changed the way we are thinking. If I see my career over last 2 decades, and I have been mainly into customer-facing roles, on the other side, it has tremendously changed. It has been a gradual change. I would say a change. Sometimes you're not even aware that you are changing or your role is getting changed. But when you look back, say, yeah, 5 years back, this role was not like that. But now this role is completely different. And especially when you are in a customer-facing roles, the pace of change is much more compared to any other roles, because you need to be, your ecosystem around you ensures that you change, be it your customers, their demands, their own priorities, be it the partners, be it your own direct team or the leadership above you. I think everything changes and you need to cope with that. And I also believe that every change comes with an opportunity to grow. And when you embrace that change with a growth mindset, I think the challenges can be addressed and it can be converted into opportunities. So that has been my experience.
No, that's excellent insight too. And I love what you said at the end, how you turn these challenges into opportunities. That's key. Absolutely key. So let's move over to Rhode Island and talk to Saket. So Saket, what are your thoughts on this one?
Hey, John. First of all, thanks for the question. And it's a pleasure to be here among the esteemed fellow panelists here. As I think through the response of this question, it gives me an opportunity to go back in the days when I started off as a system admin back in late 1990s. It used to be a critical function. System admin had the responsibility to keep systems up and running optimally. Fast forward to now, with ever-changing industry demand and a shift towards automation, AI ops, the landscape has changed, right? If you look at industry and customers have started to move towards towards a machine-led delivery model versus the 1990s human-led delivery model. And with cloud movement, companies are adopting to infrastructure as a code, right? Which basically means now system admins have become developer of IT services, having both app and infra skills, right? And so with that context, not only my first job role has gone through the enormous amount of transformation, even my current role as IT infra strategy leader has changed a lot. Infra is not a silo anymore, right? It has touch points with business apps more than ever before, right? Coming to the second part of the question, I think one of the challenge that we all face is, being outskilled by the demands of the industry. And I think as long as one keeps acquiring new and relevant skills, moving through career changes, growing in your career becomes easy. And one thing that I've learned is, opportunities don't come your way, you need to create them. And in baseball terminology, you got to be ready to play the next fastball or curveball or the knuckleball as it comes your way. So I'll leave it at that, John.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. So Siki, this is an interesting question, and I know that you haven't been here that long, but a year and a half here at HCL. So what are your thoughts on this? And obviously, we've been impacted by what's been happening over here for the last couple of years as well, right?
I think, thank you for having me on the panel, and nice to meet all of you and have a great conversations. I have always followed my curiosity, and my passion of technology has always driven this, intense curiosity to see what's the next thing. And while I've been doing that, I've been really wanting to acquire skills. So I started in software, means just developing software system and apps. And then I went to be a CEO 3 times of software startups. And that's another, and in doing that, applying technology, building solution for cloud. And then I took that almost 10 years ago, and I said, I'm going to take that back and go and give back to enterprises. But one thing that has always driven me is, first of all, is what you can do with technology with your clients. That's really fascinating to me. Things that we couldn't do 10, 15 years ago when we do now. It is amazed me every day, and that's why I jump out of bed and I want to do this job. And second is seeing people grow through this and pushing them to just say, run to something, not from something. And, just drive your own curiosity where you want to go. And again, I am with Saket, things come to you. Because you make your environment and you're ready to do another change. I thought I would, end my career at Accenture, and then, people, I know KK for a long time. He came, he opened, he said, I've got this challenge, can you help me? My curiosity again. And I seem very, open person, but I'm actually very pragmatic. I say, can I do this job? Can I make a difference? What it is I can bring and all that. And you jump into something new, following the idea, I'm probably going to see things I haven't seen before.
No, that's excellent insight. And I wanted to add a couple thoughts if I could. So I think that, when we're talking about how things have changed since the advent of COVID, and I say it's not over with by any means, and obviously it'll be the next thing. I mean, obviously there's a couple of things that are really important to every business, no matter what business it is, and that is, number one, are you resilient enough to be able to withstand the impacts of something like this, right? But I think what's also happened is, at least in my mind, is a lot of things that companies used to think were super important from a technology standpoint have become table stakes. So when I say that, I think that regardless of what industry you're in, I think anyone may be in, I think that what's happened is people start to say, how do you really differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack? And it's come down to some of the more softer things. I hate to say that because we're having a technology discussion, but they assume that you have the technology and the expertise, that you have the global reach and breadth, and that you could actually do what you need to do. So it's about, do you take care of your end customers and end clients well, and how you communicate and how you differentiate your story vis-a-vis your competition. I think some of those things have really moved very front and center, more front and center than they ever have been. And quite frankly, I think that they're going to remain front and center for many, many years to come, because as people are buying, whether or not it's another company or a end consumer, they take these things into consideration. And some of it's with the advent of social media and the instant ability to evaluate and get what you think about a company or its product or services out to the world right away. But I think that these things are really important. So some of the softer things, I think, have, really become very, very important. Not that the technology is not, because it absolutely is critical as well. All right, so hey, let's move on to another question if we could. So I'm curious to know how each of you all felt about the initial phases of the pandemic that hit, and how it helped you evolve into becoming a stronger and more confident decision maker, if you will, towards your own career progression. And the reason I'm asking this question is that things were difficult enough when COVID started and through COVID. But then to change careers during that extremely challenging time is an extra level of stress that, quite frankly, very few people would want to sort of get involved with. But you all did. So I'm just curious to see, what were your thoughts, and was it the best time to move, or was it? Some people say it was absolutely the right time to move, or I didn't think about it, but the right opportunity came up. I'm just curious to see what you all think. Neat. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, great question, John. So I think, for me, it was the right opportunity. It came up at the right time in terms of my career journey. But certainly, global pandemic taught everyone to everyone to get accustomed to uncertainty, especially, in a rapidly changing economic environment. So, one of the biggest giveaway here is like the CPG industries, right? So it's really a manufacturing. Food cost is so high, you can't really plan for it, like what a raw material is going to cost for next month. But then, you have to also, create your plans and at what price you're going to sell it to the retailer. So like, as you are in the middle of it, you have to be very dynamic and agile to, make sure that you keep the right balance and stay profitable, right? So it's like we have to make decisions faster, with a limited amount of data and information, along with, having to act faster to the rapidly changing needs, not just the wants, but the needs as well. And on top of that, you have to go outside of your comfort zone and make decisions with limited information, not just at my level, but even, throughout the leadership within the company. And then, more importantly, I think, John, you alluded to is and then you have to align with the stakeholders and drive the data-driven decision culture to say, hey, this is why we have to make a decision. This has never been done ever in the history before. Models, you can't really train the models to predict anything. But based on, whatever the limited information that we have available, let's make the decisions here. And then kind of I think you asked about the career in terms of how do I really went about it? Like why, was it the timing, right? And I feel like, there is the synergies as well, because, the whole personal piece as well. When you are in this environment, you're looking for the right fit from the company as well, the company that you're going to go work for. And, it's really about not just, monetary, right? It's about the culture fit. It's about the mission. It's about the purpose. And, when you go through that, and I recently graduated from the MBA program as well, and it really taught me about how do you value the company, where is the company really spending the money, right? So I kind of use a lot of those models to really understand, is the company risk averse? Is the company is really a risk on? How has the company managed some of these situations in the past? And, I would say I probably use some of those ratios from the financial models as an input into making a decision. So.
No, excellent answer. Thank you for that. Garima, what are your thoughts on this one?
John, I believe that the silver lining with pandemic was it gave all of us an opportunity to take a pause and reflect on our choices, reflect on what we want to do next, and what we call at Microsoft a worth it equation, where we all started questioning, is it worth it what we were doing, right? Is it worth it even to commute to office? Is it worth it to even whatever we were doing? I think all of us have gone through a phase where we have questioned not just what we were doing at work, but have we got the meaning and purpose of what we wanted it from life? And I think that was a time of self-reflection. I would not say my career progression that I made or a career transition that I made during pandemic was a result of that. To me, as Neet also mentioned, for me it was the right opportunity, and to be probably working with an organization like Microsoft, which I believe has completely adopted the change of this pandemic in the most efficient way and became much more relevant during pandemic because of the collaboration and the productivity solutions that we have. I think it became much more relevant, and I thought for me this was there that I want to stay relevant to our customers, and the right opportunity came at the right time, and that's why I made that move. But certainly pandemic made a lot of people to think that it is no longer the well-paying jobs which is good enough. it is also the purpose and the meaning that you want to get out of your job, which is very important.
No, I think so. And I think the other thing, it's interesting that you mentioned this. You mentioned soul searching, and that's a really interesting topic because it sort of put things in perspective, doesn't it? Because, I mean, everything that was happening around the world or still is happening around the world and how it impacted all of our friends and family and loved ones, it puts things in perspective about us, where we fit in all this, right? I think that's key. Saket, what are your thoughts on this one as we pontificate further?
No, I think I agree with what Garima and Meet sort of outlined. From my point of view, personally, pandemic brought a lot of grief to the world in general, right? People lost their loved ones, lost livelihoods, so it was not easy, right? I think everyone went through what I would call a liminal phase of existence where past was behind but future was uncertain, right? And there is something profound in life's bitter moments. Turns out we often need darkness in order to appreciate the light.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, the crisis enabled me to reflect and reset. I was able to delve into a possible version of myself that I could be. I would say, retaught me humility, resilience, and courage. I felt the gratitude of me and my family being at a safe place. And at the same time, I also felt the urge to do what I could do for people who are impacted by the tragedy. I think if we look at the sort of the change of working that we went through, everybody working from home, etc., but it also allowed us to rethink work from a new perspective, and allowed me to get creative about hours, my work, communication, gave me opportunities to rekindle dormant ties, right, both professional and personal, learn new skills. So overall, John, it refreshed me to plan my next career move after 20 years of being in the same organization.
Wow. No, that's great. That's great to hear that. So, Siki, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this?
I think what the change in job during pandemic, I love Meet approach of very pragmatic, understanding what you can read. And by the way, in the modern technology, you can read a lot about companies. You go Glassdoor, you do a lot of it. But in the long run, joining a company, there is still a big people element. So in my hopping around in my career, always I had many meetings, face-to-face, and reviews, even multiple face interview. This time, and it wasn't like that. You have to try to empathize and connect with a person like this, and it is hard. But I actually demanded, a in-person meeting with CVK, our CEO, because what we wanted to do was pretty big, and I'm going, I want to look at this guy in the eye. And I will always remember, we had masks and we had across the table, and it was like February, and there was this huge snowstorm in New York. But I can tell you, I still think that was a pivotal moment for me to say, I think I'm gonna bet on this and this and that, and the person, and I'm not sure I would have reached that, jumping across if I didn't have an in-person meeting. So, there is still this important element. You join a company, but you join a lot of people and trying to do things with people together. And it's still a leap of faith, but we all have to take.
No, I agree. That's an excellent answer as well. And I joined HCL just 4 months ago, so I'm relatively new as well. And people always say, when I left my former employer, I had a couple of different opportunities on the table, and they all seemed really, really good. I was up for the challenge, and the people seemed great, the companies seemed great. And someone said, well, how did you really make that decision to decide between one or the other? How did you decide to come to HCL? And I thought about it long and hard, and I thought, I really want to go somewhere that probably needs me more than I need them. And if you think about what that says, that they need the skills that we bring to the table. They need the thought leadership that we bring to the table, because I really did, just like you just said, I really vetted all those things out. And I was talking to some of what I called the usual suspects. Accenture was in the mix, and some of the other people as well. Great companies, but I just thought that this would be a better fit, as you said. So it's interesting to see how people sort of get there. And I don't regret anything.
Next time we're going to call Meet and say, Meet, can I have your spreadsheet?
There you go. I want to see that spreadsheet too. I want to see that, because he's got
the sources.
Right? He's got a very structured approach. I like that.
Absolutely.
That. Anytime. Seriously, no, I think that's great. Excuse me. Well, hey, let's move on to another question, and that is, all of you all, I heard the words, being bold and courageous and excited and willing to take a chance. Those are all the traits of people that are out there that are willing to change companies mid-career. If you had to limit it to the top 2 or 3 characteristics that you think people should really, display when you're actually in the middle of a career transformation or a transition, what would those top 2 or 3 traits be? Meet, what are your thoughts?
I think top 2 or 3. You put me in the tough position now.
Sorry. It wasn't a question, I promise.
I would say, since I'm focused more on the AI ML side of the house, I'll kind of start with that, and then I'll kind of go into the overall business. I would say, concerning the top for AI and ML from a career transition standpoint, you have to be agile to adapt to the company's culture and environment, especially the new company's culture. And even though it could be in the same industry, it would very, very different. It could be very different, right? The way the decisions are made, the way the decisions are absorbed, and the way the execution happens. So there is, I would say, the first. And then the second, I would say, is the ways of working and the approach that worked, in your former life may not necessarily work in a new role at a new company, just because the players are different, right? The structure is different, and so I'm recognizing that I made about 3-4 moves so far, and I'm recognizing that there has been a consistent flow, consistent theme across the board, across all 4 times. So. And third, you have to adapt to the company's culture, and more importantly, the change management and the analytical quotient piece, right? That comes in once you can, once you buy into the culture, because then you can speak the culture, and that's when you can drive change. So, I think those are, I would say, the top 3 that sums up for somebody coming in and really trying to, set up the organization, drive change management.
No, that's excellent. That's excellent. Garima, what are your thoughts?
I would say, John, first few months are very critical when you make these transitions in a new organization. I would say the first year is the foundation. That also decides, are you going to continue, or will you be making another move very soon? So if you want to continue, I think in the same organization, then there are 3 points that I would say which are very critical and should be there when you make leadership transition. First one is you should be good in network. It's important that you talk to many people in the organization so that they get to know you, you get to know them. You need to demonstrate what you are good at. Otherwise, you are just a name when you join a new organization. So it's very important that you proactively go and network with people, set aside some time where you can connect, understand what they are doing in their role, how can you contribute to their success, how can they contribute to your success. So that is one. Second is, it is very important, and I think that is something that only a new leader can bring on the table, is a fresh perspective to everything. You are not coming with a baggage of what could not be done in a situation. You are coming with a fresh lens, And you can look at things, you can give suggestions that nobody else is thinking. And I think that's why it is very important that in initial few months, a new leader should not hold himself or herself back, but should very actively contribute in all the conversations, should give suggestions, because the perspective that a new leader can bring is very unique, and that needs to be demonstrated. And the third one, which is very important, which actually builds your credibility and your foundation in the new organization, is your personal brand when it comes to your say do ratio. It is what you are saying and what you are doing. The say do ratio should be high always, but very critical in first year that your say do ratio is very high.
No, those are amazing. Those are amazing. That's great. Saket, what do you think?
Very, very nicely put, both by Meet and Garima. I will start off, John, where I left off in my response to the second question. As I went through the pandemic, I took refuge in my core beliefs of humility, resilience, and courage. I believe those are top three traits that has enabled me to go through my career transformation and transition journey. Humility, because it allows you the space of openness while still keeps you grounded to who you are. Resiliency, because it prepares you for the uncertainty and ever-changing landscape around you. And courage, because it allows you to challenge the status quo and sort of build your instincts. During the career transition and transformation process, oftentimes, I know Meet talked about the data-driven approach, but oftentimes you make decisions in the face of many unknowns. You know certain things, but you also don't know certain things, right? And that time you got to be able to trust your gut and move decisively.
No, excellent. Those are great thoughts. Siki, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think I make a little bit of a plan, and I'm with Garima. The first 90 day, 60 days, it's kind of make or break, and so I just want to be kind of prepared methodically what I'm going to do, how many people I'm going to meet. And so when I joined HCL, I said, I just want to meet clients for 3 months. Listen why they love HCL, listen to what they want from us and everything. Because in my personal career, if I know who's the client, my life gets much easier, because I understand what is driving that. And so that was one of the things. So I do this little list of myself, which are the 10 things I'm going to do. It's more personal, so that I am grounded and I just come right off the bat straight away and doing things and meeting friends and then personally is what it is, the one thing that I am going to show in the span of a year or 2 years, I'm going to provide as a change personally. I'm going to go, in 12 months, I will be able to contribute this or make this change and make it a little bit of my personal goal for the first 12 months. If you pass the 12 months, and I have these things that always everybody knows, how long have you been here? So I say 185 days and 200. When I get it to a year, I'm just going, it's a year end. But it is important because especially in companies like at HCL, I meet people who have been here 30 years. And I'm going, I cannot be 30 days in the same place in 30 years. So you have to match that, expectation. And that's my own little routine, how to get there, really.
No, I love that. I think that's great. I wanted to add just a tiny bit from my perspective too. I think that, when we all change careers throughout our career, It's easy to say, oh, I've learned so much before, I sort of already know how to do things. And I think for me, one of the things that I think is first and foremost when I start something new is to keep that what I call learning mentality. And what I mean by that is not just learning how to navigate the organization and who's who, and the capabilities, strengths, and weaknesses within the organization, but to want to continue to learn new things in general as my career progresses, right? And a lot of times we all, as people mid-career and beyond, we sort of get a little bit complacent, let's be honest. We get complacent and think, oh, I already know everything about cloud, or I know everything about automation, or I know everything about, professional services from an IT perspective. But, again, one of the things I like to do is think about what do I need to do to keep on in that learning mentality and learn from the people that I'm meeting in the new organization. I think that that's a good thing as well. So, hey, we've all had mentors and senior folks throughout our careers that we've looked up to. And I'm just curious if you could pick sort of one thing that you think was the best advice that you got from one of your mentors at any stage in your career. It doesn't have to be recent. What would that best advice be that you'd like to pass on to our audience? Meet, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I would say, you have to make your own career. I mean, I think that was the advice I got. It's like, and to your point earlier, right? Don't get complacent. The reason being is, it's like if you stay with one company for too long, especially in the advanced analytics space, then you probably get complacent because you're only looking at a particular view, and there's not much room for growth. Lately, the industry is changing. You have more roles. A lot of the C-suite roles are getting created, like chief data officer, chief digital officer, chief data and analytics officer. So that's kind of like really, creating analytics as part of the business ecosystem within a company. And when that happens, I think it really opens up the door, right? So the idea is like, don't get too comfortable, right? That's one advice. But then as you apply to the career and the journey as our role is like, well, make sure that, you stay on top of the latest marketing or latest tech stack as well, because the market is evolving as well. So you have to stay relevant. And to Saket's earlier point as well, which is like, don't be afraid to take calculated risk with your career, because I think it's like whether you're offered a new role within the company or outside of the company, I mean, you are technically the pilot of your own career journey. And I feel like that really is the moment, right? And I know you asked me one question, I probably gave you three there, but...
No, that's great. No, we love the insight. We love the insight. Okay. Thank you. Garima, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think one of the advice that my mentor has given, and I always think of it before making a career transition, and I call it next to next. It means while the opportunity for the next move looks very promising, think over what options or what will be the role it will open up for you for your next move, which is next to next move. Is this move will be opening up new options for you, or it will be limiting the options for you? While the immediate opportunity might look very promising, but if it is limiting the options for you, then that might not be the right opportunity. You should always be thinking of the midterm goal while taking short-term decisions.
No, that's great. I love that. I love that one too. Saket, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've had privilege of having great mentors throughout my career so far. But one that I can recall for this discussion, I went to my manager and I said, I want to switch from being a manager to a technical SME. And he heard me out and he said, Saket, you're a people's person and you're doing great. It does not matter if you're a manager or a SME. At the end of the day, it always comes down to people. So hone your skill in that area. And I took that to heart. I really focused on building those skills. And I think eventually that has helped me to be the leader that I always wanted to see. as I reflected in one of my LinkedIn posts, I kind of firmly believe, John, that there's no such thing as a IT company or a technology company or a healthcare company or a company, right? Essentially, all organizations are people organizations, right? If you have people, then you have organization. And if you understand your people, then you have even better organization. And if you can understand and take care of your people, then you have a great organization.
No, that's spot on. Absolutely spot on. Siki, what are your thoughts on this one?
I was lucky I had a lot of mentors. Maybe I need a lot of mentors. I don't know. But anyway, everybody just said to me, just be true to yourself. In any change, don't make people, put you down, put you up, put you left. Just be true to yourself. Drive your innate curiosity because that's your strength. And the last thing, I think wasn't not for my mentor, but I think it was something that my parents mentored me for long, and it drives in my career all the time, is give before you take. Because if you do that, you will have a following of people that will come and they will give you again, and then you just going to be able to notice what you have done, because you only do when you give. You don't just do because of practice, and so you can see your achievement over time on that.
No, that's excellent too. Thank you for your insight. So I'll share one of mine too. I think it's sort of interesting. So I know we all need to have what I call not just a sense of urgency, but a sense of extreme urgency in today's business world, right? But one of the, I think, best tidbits of advice that I got years and years and years ago when I got out of graduate school and I went to work for back then what we called the Big 8 consulting firms. The partner that I worked for said to me, especially when things get heated, don't make a rash decision. Don't feel that need to have that urgent decision to make the decision. It's okay to sleep on it. And it's okay to tell people, hey, I need a day or I need an evening to think about this and calm down and rationally think. And I think, Garima, as you had mentioned earlier too, not just thinking about the next step, but the next 2, 3, 4 steps beyond that. I'm not a great chess player and I don't know all the in and outs of chess, but I think it sort of relates to that, right? It's sort of understanding that, when you make a decision, make sure that you think it through, take the time, take a deep breath, think about something else, then come back to it and be thinking about 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of the game. I think that's important. So let me get to the final question that we have today, because some of the questions we've actually combined. None of us have a crystal ball. I wish we did, right? But we don't. And actually, it would make life probably boring if we did have a crystal ball. So the challenges that come to us, given that we don't know what's going to happen right around the corner, make it exciting for us. But if someone were to ask you, looking forward into 2023 and beyond, and these crazy, crazy times that we all live in around the world, and who knows what's going to happen next. COVID happened, and then there's some other things that have been happening around the world. Resiliency has sort of popped to the top in terms of all of your responses and our conversation today. What are your predictions for what you think may happen in the workplace and from a technology perspective in 2023 and beyond in the next couple of years? What do you think about that, Meet?
I think from a technology standpoint, the next wave that I would like to guess is potentially the multi-cloud environment, product versus solution approach. So we have always been like a solution consulting approach. I feel like product is going to be the next wave. Web 3.0 is probably going to change the way we probably think about how the marketing is done, and potentially even from a DeFi standpoint, how things are, or the applications are built in finance as well. And in terms of the workplace prediction, I feel like the hybrid model is here to stay.
Exactly.
People are balancing the work-life balance. I think the importance on the work-life balance has gone up significantly, and I believe from a company standpoint, during the pandemic, I think we proved that we can survive, and potentially even by providing higher or having a higher productivity and effective with higher effectiveness as well. So I feel like that model is proven. Hoping that it's probably going to stay for longer as well.
No, I think I love that answer. I think that's great, and I think that all those things, I fully subscribe to those things. So, Garima, what do you think is around the corner? What do you think is coming up in 2023 and beyond?
I believe, John, the future is for mixed reality, and with hybrid work going to stay. It is no longer a prediction. We all know that is how we are going to continue work. The physical and virtual world, the line between the two worlds is getting blurred, and it is going to be a mixed reality world. It is going to change the way we are going to collaborate with each other, the way we shop, the way we travel, the way we do everything is going to change with mixed reality.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I love that answer too. Saket, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Garima and me talked about the hybrid workplace. It's kind of like the toothpaste is out of the tube and you can't really put it back in the tube. So that's where we are. My near-term predictions will be, John, we will see more and more need and use case of mixed skills requirement heading into 2023 and beyond. Knowing one skill is not going to be enough, specifically in the age of infra as a code. We will continue to see the shift to the right in terms of AI and machine-led IT operations. Cybersecurity will continue to be pivotal. And in general, we will see organizations shifting to product-based strategy.
No, I think so too. I like that. Ziki, what are your thoughts? And especially asking you from a cloud perspective, right? That's your expertise. Right?
So I think I still believe that cloud is only electricity. It's what you do with it that makes the difference. But personally, I've got my own, I believe cloud are going to be industry, and we can talk about it till the end, but my main thing is I am going to double down on sustainability, because IT is the cure and the contributor. So I've decided I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to go and get MIT Sloan Business Sustainability course. I'm just going to go back, and it's going to take a year, 2 years, I don't care. But because this thing is not today, is for the future many, many years, that we need to, it's going to change how enterprise thinks, how we think, how people think, and everything. So I think that I'm going to put more emphasis as much as I can in HCL cloud sustainability. But personally, I feel like I need to know the depth of the data-driven sustainability world and how I can make the difference. And maybe that's my own personal investment on myself, and I'll help HCL and everybody for the next 10 years. Because I think if we don't make the effort now, at one point it's going to be like the toothpaste is out of the tube and we can't put it back again.
No,
to take a second. And so let's wait before everything is gone and the world is on what we call unreversible mode, and use data to make it happen. So that's going to be my personal goal. And I think a lot more in cloud and IT people are going to start to say, I better know more than I know today.
Well, I agree, and I think that this is an important one. Sustainability obviously has moved front and center. It's interesting, we started talking about sustainability and green initiatives probably 15 years ago, right? People would write it in proposals and talk about it, but now it's real. And I'm not saying it wasn't real back then, but I think everybody understands the gravity of this and how important it is. And people are using these types of things to actually make their buying decisions, whether it's a personal buying decision or a corporate buying decision. Again, I think some of the table stakes are, yes, can your company do what it's supposed to do? That's table stakes. It's sort of like saying, can a restaurant serve food? Of course. When you go buy a car, will it drive you somewhere? Of course it will, right? The salesman that sells you the car doesn't say you should be excited that it has a steering wheel and wheels. Of course it does, right? It's these other things beyond the table stakes that I think have really become very important, and sustainability is really, really key. And I think it's important. I love that. I think that's great insight. Well, hey, everybody, this has been a wonderful conversation. I really want to thank everybody for taking the time today to speak with us. I'm looking forward to talking with you all again soon. Wish everyone the best of luck in your new careers. And we would love to bring you back in a future session if that's okay with you guys. So thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the great session. Thank you, all the panelists.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Bye.